Good morning. So my phone isn't. Oh, there it goes. Here we go. Barbara Richardson. Good morning. Sorry, I had several things go wrong this morning in trying to do this live stream. Um, I forgot my phone going out to the church property, so I had to come back here. Then I went live a couple minutes ago, and for whatever reason, Facebook wouldn't let me go live. So here I am, and here you are, Letitia. Good morning. Stephanie Ellis. Hey, Letitia, I have a question for you. Um, Our cat is an orange tabby, and we saw him last night on our walk down in front of your house. Now, he disappears for weeks at a time sometimes, and then he shows up and he's day after day here. I just wondered if he hangs out at your house. Um, he seemed pretty content down there when we saw him. Steve and Andrea, good to see you this morning. Jim and Kathy, welcome this morning. Let's see, Don Hoverson, good morning. Yeah, you might also notice that I got tired of the beard, so it's gone. Um, Brandy Ankar, good morning to you. Yeah, I enjoy having a beard, but then it gets under my. I start messing with it too much, and it's got to go. So I cut it off. Elisa, good morning. Good morning, Mother. Karen Lowe, welcome. Debbie King, good morning. So yeah, again, apologize for starting late. We had a little bit of a snafu to get on the live stream. Carmen, good to see you. Alyssa Tucker, good morning. And so here we are. So we're continuing our discussion on processing emotions. We started with the idea that emotions aren't good or bad, but they only feel good and bad, right? Emotions, we have to kind of relabel them as helpful and normal and appropriate, even though they don't feel comfortable at times. Remember, emotions can help us by warning us of danger, like fear. Warns us that there's something dangerous, and so we are careful as a result. It's a positive thing, though we don't like to feel fear. Um, it prompts change in us, our emotions, to make if we're feeling a sense of hopelessness, it would prompt us to give up. and if we're doing something that is hopeless, we're like, okay, we need to stop doing that thing and then come up with a different way or a different solution or a different way of thinking or different, or sometimes our emotions, we're feeling an emotion and sometimes we have to change how we view the world, right? Maybe there's a flaw in how we see things and they prompt us to change. And the third way that emotions are helpful is that they prompt us to connect with other human beings, to engage with our community, to talk, to love, to process. And these are all very good and helpful things that our emotions prompt us to do. So emotions aren't good or bad; they just feel good and they feel bad. But they're all are in their pure sense are helpful, appropriate things that we should feel. Yesterday, we talked about growing in our comfort with feeling uncomfortable. Just rather than pushing off, stuffing, rejecting, escaping, numbing, medicating our emotions, pushing them down, we hold them and we allow ourselves to feel them in a non-judgmental way. So I don't say I should feel this or I shouldn't feel this. I just say I am feeling this, and what do I feel? And allow those emotions to be present, and to engage with them, and to not judge them, but to be kind of an objective observer. To say, oh wow, I experienced this emotion, or I am experiencing this emotion. And the benefit of this not stuffing, not avoiding, not medicating emotions, is that we allow them to pass through our experience, versus when we stuff, hold at arm's length, push away, put off, we're getting those emotions kind of stuck. And we may, if we medicate or avoid or keep ourselves busy so we don't feel these things, they kind of get just stuck in us, and they're going to come out in another way, probably not a way we'd prefer. And but when we just allow them to be and experience them, even though they're uncomfortable, we allow them to, in a healthy way, pass through, and so don't become stuck. So today, one of the things I keep alluding to is we want to understand why. Why am I feeling this way? Particularly if I'm feeling uncomfortable. Why am I feeling this emotion? And that is a really good question. And we're not going to get to that till tomorrow. And even though we are going to get to it tomorrow, it probably won't be as satisfying as an answer as you think, but it will be helpful. I'll tell you that. I will guarantee that it's going to be helpful, even if it's not going to be completely satisfying of an answer. So today, in our steps of processing emotion, I'm going to focus on two things: explore and identify emotions, explore and describe what it is we're feeling. So if we're allowing our emotions to come in and near, and we're kind of trying to hold them off, suppress, avoid, medicate, whatever. We're saying, okay, here they are. There's this emotion. I'm going to feel it non-judgmentally. A helpful way as you're doing that is to describe, kind of explore what it is you're feeling, and describe it, to name it ultimately. And what I found when I started this journey is I had a very small vocabulary for emotions. I've already said this. I think I said it on Monday, that they were just good or bad. Good emotions, that they're okay. Bad feeling emotions, I don't want to feel them. I shouldn't feel them, and I would suppress, avoid, medicate, escape, those types of things. And as a part of holding my emotions and experiencing them, I needed to describe them and name them. And so I had to develop a whole vocabulary for the things that I was actually feeling, because before I just had one word: bad. I'm feeling bad right now, and I don't know why, and I don't like it, and I want it to go away. So exploring. So I told you about naming our six primary or basic emotions, and we really focused on four of those six. Happiness, which, we have lots of subcategories for happiness, joy, contentment, excitement, things like that. Then you have fear, anger, and sadness. Fear, anger, and sadness are the big ones that I think that were most helpful to me to begin to expand my vocabulary so that I could ultimately understand them and answer in many ways the why question. Why am I feeling this? Because that ultimately becomes the most helpful to processing in a healthy way, and let these emotions pass through versus getting stuck in me and bubbling out in times and ways that I wouldn't prefer. So the step today is beginning to explore, what am I feeling, describing that, and ultimately coming up with a name. Am I feeling sad? The primary emotions: am I feeling sad? Is there some danger that I'm fearful of that's causing anxiety or worry in me? And is there something, anger? What am I feeling anger? And what is that anger? Describing how that feels and the circumstances that surround it. We're just exploring non-judgmentally, and we're describing what we're feeling. And I think this is helpful. Again, this is something that, even though it's not prescribed in the scriptures, we see by observation it happening. So, like, for instance, in the Psalms, So I'm going to grab my Bible here. Today's Psalm readings, I'm just going to give a couple examples of this. This is why I love the Psalms, because they help us process emotion. So the prescribed readings for today begins in Psalm 12. And so the psalmist, in this case David, is describing what he's feeling. Verse 1, "Save, O Lord, for the godly one is gone. For the faithful have vanished from among the children of man. Everyone utters lies to his neighbor with flattering lips, and a double heart they speak." What is the psalmist feeling? Well, definitely he's feeling overwhelmed. He's just using broad terms. No one, everyone, everyone utters lies. There are no faithful. They've all vanished from among the children of man. Is that true? Probably not. But it's definitely how he feels. Sometimes our life and our circumstances and our emotions just feel overwhelming. It's like everything's going wrong with my life. Everyone is letting me down. All of my decisions are going wrong. It just feels overwhelming. And so we see the psalmist describing how they're feeling. Look at Psalm 42, another prescribed reading for our prescribed reading today. And think of this psalm in terms of someone who is exploring and describing what they're feeling, what their emotions feel like. Psalm 42 says, "As the deer pants for flowing streams, so pants my soul for you, O God." So there's some unrest. There's, if I'm wanting water, it means I'm thirsty. There's something that I'm longing for. So there's describing a longing. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? So there's this longing, but it is unfulfilled. Unfulfilled longing. There's something I can't quite get there. I have a longing in me that I cannot satisfy in this moment. That's what's being described. That's how I'm picturing the emotions of the psalmist. My tears have been my food day and night. So they're describing again, an emotional, physiological response to what they're feeling. Man, they've been up during the night with tears flowing. They say to me all the day long, "Where is your God?" In other words, again, there's like a broad term. All day long. Really? Is it all day long this is happening? No, it just feels that way. It's like this continual day, night, all day. I'm feeling these things. Where is your God? These things I remember as I pour out my soul. How I would go to, with the throng and lead them in the procession to the house of God with glad shouts and song of praise, multitude keeping festival. So he's reflecting on, man, I didn't feel this way. I look at in the past when I used to feel really good and life felt good and I loved worshiping God and I would go and everything all was right in the world. And so, again, just describing what they're feeling. So let's keep going. Then begins to ask the question, why? Why am I feeling this way? What's going on inside my heart? Why are you downcast, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. So a part of the psalmist process is drawing a conclusion that I'm not always going to feel this way. In the past, I felt really good. I worshiped God. It was such a good day. Today's not that day. I'm feeling really bad. And I don't really know why. I'm asking the question, why am I so downcast? But again, I will hope in the Lord because I know that this emotion's going to pass through and I am going to once again put my hope in God and praise him. I'll experience that again in the future. It's not forever that I'm going to experience what I'm experiencing. So you see how the psalmist is processing their emotions and describing what it feels like to feel what they're feeling. This is just a very healthy way of processing what we're feeling. So we're taking those emotions that are uncomfortable and we're holding them close and we're saying, okay, I'm unjudgmentally just looking at them like, yep, here I am. I'm feeling these emotions. And then we begin to explore them and describe them, put names to them. what is it I'm feeling? And that is a healthy way to allow emotions to pass through. Sorry, there's a mosquito buzzing me. Um, and so this is a normal, healthy way. Sometimes emotions pass through in a day, a few minutes. Sometimes I just tell myself, Mark, in 15 minutes you'll feel different. Don't despair. But sometimes when we experience very deep and profound loss, it doesn't go away in 15 minutes. I can tell you by my own experience that there are traumatic things that have happened in my life that have taken the initial intensity of the emotions literally took a few years to overcome feelings of anger and betrayal and injustice and intense grief over loss and so on. And so, yeah, it's important that we allow ourselves to feel these feelings, even though they're uncomfortable, because it allows them to keep passing through and not getting stuck and unprocessed. And the ways we do this is, the way I do it is I journal. I write out what I'm feeling. I keep a sense of what experiences I've had and how they made me feel. I keep a record of that in my journals. I process it out. It's helpful to me. And also I'll talk about it with someone. And the person you choose to talk about these and process your emotions with, it might be even helpful to let them know I'm not here for you to try to get to the bottom of why I feel this way or whether I should be feeling this way. All I want you to do is help me to process what it is I'm feeling, to explore it and to name what it is. Because oftentimes when we are listening to someone who particularly is going through something that's difficult, we want to solve the problem. We don't want them to feel bad. We are all in our culture, we enthrone happiness. I ought to be feeling happy all the time, and I shouldn't be feeling sad in any way. And if I do feel sad, I'm going to make that go away by doing unhealthy things, like just staying busy, forgetting the pain I'm feeling, numbing it, medicating it. Can you just give me a pill, something that makes me feel better? That's why we struggle with addictions. That's why we struggle with, it's oftentimes unprocessed emotions. And so talking about it, describing it to someone else. And so if you're a listener to someone else describing their emotions, it's really helpful to just reflect back to them what they're saying and clarify, and maybe help them name the emotions that they're talking about. But resist the urge to say, well, you know what, you shouldn't feel that way. You're probably overreacting to this, or they probably didn't mean what you think they meant by what they said. You're probably making a big deal over nothing. That may be true. We're going to talk about secondary emotions. I don't know how long we've gone. These go longer. So there's our primary emotions. That's what we've been talking about specifically this week. But there's a thing called secondary emotions, where the emotion we're feeling is a reaction to what we're feeling. What I mean by that is anger is a great example of a secondary emotion. We can feel that oftentimes as a secondary emotion. So maybe I failed a test at school, and my deeper, more vulnerable primary emotion is feeling a little shameful because I didn't measure up. Maybe I felt guilty because I didn't study enough, and so I'm working through disappointment in myself, disappointment that I didn't achieve a particular goal. And these are maybe more vulnerable emotions that we don't like feeling, but we manifest in anger because of I think my teacher's unfair, so we blame someone else, or I didn't have enough time to study because of all the other things that are happening in my life. It's not my fault that and so we react to, so those are more secondary emotions: the anger, the blame, the feeling like it's not fair. Those are that's what we feel more. It's because somehow it feels more comfortable to feel those feelings rather than the more tender feelings of shame, disappointment, guilt. And so yeah, when you're listening to someone describe their emotions, sometimes you're hearing them describe secondary emotions. In your mind, like, that emotion doesn't match what's happening. You probably shouldn't be feeling that. And so that's the part where you have to resist. It's a piece of the puzzle. So we feel our emotions, and then we start to, as we begin to describe them and explore them, and when we get to the question why, then we can start identifying, is this a primary emotion or a secondary emotion? Is there something else I should be paying attention to? Anger for me is more often a secondary emotion. It's a very accessible emotion. Somebody says something, I have an anger response. I don't respond to it. I don't respond in anger, but that person may get the impression I'm a little impatient or irritated that they've said what they've said. And I don't even always in the moment, I just observe it. I'm the objective observer. Ooh, wow, you just felt angry about what they just said. And so later I'll process more. It's like, why was that was there a deeper, more tender emotion that triggered? Is there some thinking that I have or expectation that I need to change or address? And it's helpful as we explore. But for now, you're just describing what you're feeling and you're trying to put a name on it. So tomorrow we start to ask the question, why? Why am I feeling the way I feel? So anyway, I hope this is helpful. I know it's a slow, incremental way of looking at it, but it's important that we don't rush to conclusion without doing work to get there. So bless you today. We'll kind of finish up this week tomorrow in this very small way of looking at processing emotions. And have a good day. We'll see you in the morning.